Alright guys, this might or might not look a little different. I had to use a different camera app because my camera is bugging out. And I started a video and it freaking killed it. But that's perfect for what I want to talk about because often a lot of shit like that will get in your way from making a video. And you gotta just make the video. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out what to talk about and stuff like that. And there's been this reoccurring, you know, theme in my mind or whatever. I often try to sound too profound on these videos, but I'm just a guy giving my perspective. And the thought that's been constantly occurring in my head is, you know, should I do these videos? Nobody asked for them, but I do like to give my thoughts and perspective on things, especially when they're important. Oftentimes I'll just on a whim try to make a video and I'm rambling a lot, kind of like right now. But I did want to talk about one important thing is that, is social media harming people or hurting us? We spend a lot of time on social media looking for the answers. At least I do. I can't speak for everybody, but I think a lot of people distract themselves or entertain with social media, whatever, and we think it's helping us because it feels good in the moment. But I believe it could be hurting a lot of us because, including myself, because instead of doing something productive, whether it's building something or using our imagination outside or whatever, or spending time with my kids, I've been weighing whether or not it's worth it. Um, I if I can entertain people, if I can make somebody feel good, if people enjoy it, then I think it's worth it. But at the same time, the constantly watching, searching for answers is no good. And I've kind of touched on this on my last video, one of my last videos. But I I've just found that for the past few years, I've been going through this pain, really focusing on myself, really overthinking about myself. And I've realized the only way to really get out of that is to focus on everybody else. You know, it doesn't matter if you think you're a loving person. You can love everybody. You could think you love everybody the most of all. But in the end, like it says in the Wizard of Oz, I think, or something like that, it's like it doesn't matter how much you love, but how much you are loved by others. And if you really think about that, that means you're a person that went out of your way, really, and you're not putting. Often, I'll put my thoughts above other people in the form of like uh, expecting this, expecting what I would want, like expecting something. And when we live in it, like expectation, we're constantly let down. And instead of accepting a person how they are, we have these expectations on people. At least I have in the past. I can only speak for myself again, but I've learned to let go of that and to try to change my perspective on life and things, and also think about how I am perceived by others. I might not think that I'm being rude or I'm having an attitude, but however somebody perceives you, may they be wrong or whatever, they still perceive you in that way. And so, you should mind how others may perceive you, because you can't, you're not them, they're not you, and I'm not saying that you should explain to everybody or you should like bother wasting your time with everybody. There's definitely people that are, straight dickheads and whatever, no matter what. And I'm not talking to y'all. I'm talking to, like, I guess people that think like me, or are trying to be the best person they could be actually, and put yourself in other people's shoes. You know, I don't think we live in a society, they want to call it empathy. I just call it being human, where you think about other people. And, you know, if you're like mad or upset like I was, like oh, you know, people don't care as much as me, you know, it's like you're still thinking about yourself, even if you go out of your way and do everything for everybody, but at the end of the day you're upset because they didn't meet your expectations, or they didn't respond like you would respond, you know, and you put yourself in their shoes and you're like, this is what I would have done. And in certain cases it's like, yeah, that's okay, that's right, you're right, you know, certain cases you're right, but other cases you don't know their intentions. And oftentimes we put feelings and stuff behind people's actions that may or may not be true. And when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. I'm sure you've all heard that before. But yeah, how does this all tie into, I guess, me doing social media? It's like I don't know if my perspective at the point, you know, is or no, I don't, I thought that I was gonna help everybody, you know, I thought I could help everybody, you know, but then I thought, or not everybody, but a lot of people, whatever, like as if they needed my help. And I didn't have like a burning desire to like become the savior or whatever. It's just I wanted to help people, and I thought I could do it. If I could do it anyway, I could do it through my words. I've always been good at advice, and I never had like a savior complex or like a God like on a mission from God, like I'm a Blues Brothers, you know, even though that's a funny movie. I've never had that thought process. I just generally wanted to help people, but I've heard that some people have that complex where, you know, they feel that way, and I no longer feel that way, but I am here to express my opinion and give my outlook on things, because it might help somebody. That's how I feel now, and that's why I keep doing it. Whether people don't like it or not, I will keep doing it, and I will, you know, keep trying to get better, not just for myself, but for others, to help people. I mean, I feel like we have to focus on ourselves, and if we're constantly looking at social media or others, you know, we should be able to rely on each other. But if we're constantly living in expectation, and you got to have communication as well. You got to have communication. So I guess this is for anybody that is struggling with this type of stuff. Whatever I talk about, if you're struggling with it too, that's why I talk about it, because I've overcome stuff. I realized that what I was doing wrong, and why I was feeling the way I do, and maybe it only works for me, but perhaps it'll work for somebody else. And again, that's why I do it. And it's just a short little rant so I could get it off my chest and let people know what I'm thinking, because oftentimes it's like it's bottled up, and I don't know, you know, I have this stuff going on, and I don't know how to properly explain myself often, like Ricky off Trailer Park Boys. And you know, I just don't, I've learned and realized that I don't, I don't know, I just don't want to be this, you know, this historical figure, or, you know, it was about like, leaving a mark, I guess, leaving my what's the word for it, you know, not legend, but whatever, you know, you guys get what I'm saying. It was about leaving a legacy for my family. But I was, you know, I was trying to, I guess I cared about other people thinking it was a good legacy or whatever, instead of just thinking what is the legacy that I want to leave for my family. Well, if you're constantly looking for outside of your family for answers like I was, you're not going to leave your own legacy. And now I have seen that I could begin, to leave a legacy and spend time with my family and not worry so much about myself and all this YouTube stuff. But it's not making videos. It's watching. It was watching videos. It was looking for an answer. It was, worried about, what I was gonna get out, what I was gonna fucking talk about to capture everybody's attention or whatever, and I don't know. It's not about that anymore. I don't care, like, truly, if my videos ever get out there. It would be awesome if they did. But at this point, I just have to speak my mind, and I enjoy doing it, and I want to give my perspective, and if people like it, that's fine. But if not, either way, I'm going to be here taking care of my family, trying to leave my legacy. But it's not about fame and status anymore. It's more about connection and caring for people. And oftentimes the people that really get out there, it's like they're not the model for empathy or grace or whatever. They're cocky fucking, and it's not everybody. It's not all the celebrities, but that's what 90% of social media at least was. It's starting to change, and it also has AI slop, and you don't know what's true and what's not, and everything's a theory, and and that can't be good for our brains and young people's brains. So I've had to cut back on that. I've had to not, like, and think about my life and not worry so much about this or that or whatever. It's really just, if I didn't like making these videos at this point, I wouldn't be making them, I guess. I don't know. And I just kind of try to talk about what pops in my mind at the time and what I've been thinking about, but it's hard to get it out. And when you want to get it out, and what, other stuff you would talk about, and there's no editing. There's just me fucking rambling on, and no matter what I do, somebody's not gonna like it. And part of me is like, well, I'll just fuck up on purpose then, just for the kicks of it, because it's like I'm gonna fuck up here and there. I could do perfect editing and make it look perfect, but that's like living a lie. That's like an actor, and I'm not an actor. I'm just a real person trying to get through life, trying to figure this shit out like everybody else. And I see that we're not connected, and a lot of it's because of social media. And I think this sitting here talking to the camera over these years has definitely helped me tremendously think about myself and others and society and what I value in my family and all these things that I really didn't think I would have to or be thinking about. But if I never did this, I would be trapped back where I was there, and I don't know where I would have been, and it's not like I wasn't a good person. It's just I wasn't thinking outside the box. I wasn't trying. I wasn't believing in myself. And although it led to this over-analyzation of myself and worrying and stressing and thinking, instead of finding passions in real life and, joys in real life, I was wondering how I could make other people feel that way, while stressing myself, while worrying constantly myself, while not paying attention to my life. And I've gone through it, and I've worked through it, and we're in a good spot now, and it feels good for the first time. I'm more present in real life. Growing up, I guess I never was like antisocial per se. I never had the anxiety, but I did feel a little nervous around, a lot of people. But I got along with like the outcast perfectly fine, and that developed to like anxiety, and all of this was because I was hyper focused on myself and this and that, instead of the people in my life. And even as a young kid, it's like I did it without realizing. I can't properly explain it. I would love to talk to somebody about it, but yeah, I don't know. I just realized that it's not good to overanalyze everything, to constantly be thinking. I'm a constant thinker. I overthink, and often that leads to procrastination. And I think if I never would have done all this, I never would have realized that, and I would be stuck back there, never, like, not growing. I don't know. I probably could have explained that better, but what the hell. It is what it is. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it. I know I ramble somewhat, but yeah, I would love to get feedback too. I would love to get feedback. At the end of the day, this is a work in progress. This is like a draft for me. This isn't a finished product in my mind. Oftentimes I'll go back and I'll watch and I'll see, okay, you kind of rambled, or you kind of went here and there, but overall you got some good thoughts out. I gotta learn to be more comfortable, more prepared, to really get my thoughts across, but because that's the kind of world we live in, where people, like, if it's not perfect, they want. I like the guy Will Survives, because he kind of edits his videos where, it's just like random movements and shit, and it's like, fuck yeah, it's like, why not do that? That's why on one hand I'm like, forget that. I like the awkwardness. I like the random, like, sometimes it's almost fucking not coherent. I get that, but again, it's just a draft, and I don't know. Tell me you never had some random ass thought that wasn't a thought all the way through, but it was a beginning of a thought, and the beginning of a thought could create a thought that could change the whole world. So this fascination with being perfect, with discipline, whatever, it's like, it's not good for us. There's another nation that kind of thought along those ways, and it wasn't good for them. On the other hand, it could be good for the individual, but not if you're hyper fixated on yourself and you're not thinking about the ones around you, or even worse, you're looking at the ones around you and you're saying, what a pathetic human, because they don't know finance, they don't know how to proper grammar, they don't, they can't put together a sentence. So that just, you throw out the human, baby with the bathwater, or whatever. It's insane to me. It's insane to me. I'll never get it. But whatever. I'd rather never get it than to live in a world where I had to get it, or whatever. I don't know. I'm out. Thanks for watching.